Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk to you guys about studying and how you can adjust your study habits to study more like a UC student. So I recently shared a video about my goals and fears for my first year as a transfer student at UCLA, and one of the things that I talked about was how the rigor of the classes has kind of made me change the way that I study, the amount that I study, when I study, stuff like that. So I want to share some tips with you that you can start implementing into your study habits as you are going through community college that will hopefully ease your transition into a four-year university once you get there. So let's begin. Success is never a mistake, and if you want to be successful, you need to be organized. So before you even start studying, you need to organize your materials beforehand. So there's a lot that goes into this. You need to make sure you have all the notes that you have the textbooks, you have everything that you need to reference. If it requires, assembling a study guide or making flashcards before you can actually sit down and do the real studying, then you need to do that. But just keep in mind also that making a study guide, creating a study guide, and creating flashcards is a form of studying. But with that being said, once you create it, you actually have to review it. You can't just create it and say, okay, I've studied for the class. You need to go through it, you need to remember it, and you need to get it all situated in here. I talk a lot about time and how your time is very precious, especially when you are in community college. You want to transfer in a timely manner. You don't want to be taking too long. And likewise in UC, especially since many of the UCs are on quarter system, you're going to have to schedule your time very wisely. So the thing that I would recommend that you do is schedule study blocks, times that you are allotting specifically to study for a single class, a single test, a single midterm, whatever. So for example, if you have an upcoming psychology midterm, you might say to yourself, okay, this Saturday from 12 to 2, I am going to study for my psychology midterm. That way you already have made a commitment to yourself. You know in your head, okay, I'm focused, I'm going to do this. If you plan your study sessions ahead of time, you're less likely to talk yourself out of it and say, oh, I can do it tomorrow, or but I'm really comfortable in my bed right now. You need to put your mind in a place where you're thinking, I have a job and I'm gonna do it. In the same vein, it's important to remember to give yourself a break. Your brain is not wired to be a study machine. It's not healthy for you to be studying for hours on end. That's just not realistic either. If you do that, you're way more likely to tire out, you're gonna get bored, and you're gonna give up. I recommend giving yourself about 30 minutes, maybe even an hour of a break, depending on the subject that you're studying. If you're studying something that's a little bit more intense, like math or science or something like that, you'll probably want to go on the longer end. But at the same time, some people find that once you get studying, you're in a groove and you just want to keep studying. So it's a great way to kind of motivate yourself. Something that I like to do is incentivize my studying. So I'll make it simple. I'll say I'm going to review my notes for the first 2 or 3 weeks of class, and then once I finish that, or once I finish the reading, or whatever it is, it can be a small amount. It doesn't have to be, you're studying for your whole midterm. It could just be a portion of the midterm. Once you finish that portion, you can reward yourself either with food or I like to reward myself with something like an activity. So I'll say, okay, I'll watch YouTube videos for like 20 minutes after this, and then I'll get back to studying. I think the most valuable lesson that I've learned about studying since I've come to UCLA is that you really need to put yourself in an environment that is conducive to studying and to learning. So remove the distractions from that environment. I don't recommend studying in your bed. It's just way too easy to feel comfortable, to start convincing yourself that you can do this another time, and you might even fall asleep. I am super guilty of that offense. I always used to study in bed in community college and in high school, and since I've come here, I've realized that that's just not the best idea. One thing that I've really started to enjoy is studying at the library. So, I know that's the whole concept of a library. It's quiet so that people can concentrate, but it really does help you to stay focused. There's not a whole lot of chatter going on in the background, you don't have a TV playing in the background, you don't have music. A lot of people enjoy studying like at a Starbucks or at a cafe because there is kind of some white noise in the background. There's like a dull, low hum of people talking, but it's nothing too crazy or too distracting. So if you're interested in trying that out, definitely give it a try. In terms of white noise, some other people find, like I said, classical music to be helpful, or the sound of rain, the sound of the ocean, things like that can all stimulate your brain to start focusing in on what you're actually doing. I've realized that one key to studying that really helps me not only understand the material, but remember the material is to vary the methods that I use to study. So one of the greatest resources I think is Quizlet. I'm sure you guys are probably familiar with Quizlet. If you're not, it's a website. There's also an app. It's pretty much like virtual flashcards, but they have a lot of little games and things that you can do with the flashcards that you create. You can add pictures, you can add kind of whatever you need. It's very helpful for me, so I think that it will be helpful for you. But on a more traditional note, you can also make your own flashcards. I find that sometimes the act of writing things down is very helpful. I tend to rewrite my notes a lot because when I'm writing it, I don't know, I'm just very conscious of what I'm writing and it tends to stick in my mind more. And when I'm writing, I will use like different colors of ink because that helps me also to remember. And I find that when I'm taking a test and a question comes up on a certain concept, I will actually remember seeing it. It's not like a photographic memory, but it's a trigger because you see that related content and then you're like, okay, I remember this because I wrote it in red ink in my notes. Study groups, I want to address. This is something that doesn't work out for everybody. It also doesn't work out for every class. I've always been more of like a solitary studier. I do think that at the end of the day, I learn best when I am just in the zone by myself, powering through it. But sometimes it is beneficial to talk with other people about the subject that you're studying, particularly if you're learning a language. You're going to need to conversate with people. Dialogue is a great way to make sure that you actually understand the grammar and you're remembering the vocabulary of a language. I don't know about math and science. I would think that that's probably something that you would benefit more from studying alone, but hey, for some people it might work. Linguistics, which is my major, I like to kind of study as much as I can on my own, and then when I meet with a study group, it really helps because sometimes they'll bring up things that I didn't even think of, solutions to problems that I never would have come up with by myself. A big part of being an engaged learner is taking notes. So this is a great way to study because once you take the notes, that's a form of studying, but you come back later and review them. So if your teacher assigns you, like 20 or 30 pages of reading, make sure you're actually writing down the important points, whether you have a Google Doc, that's what I like to do. If you have a physical book and you're allowed to write in it or highlight things, highlighting is a great thing too because it's very visual, it's very easy to spot. And then if you can look at your notes and rephrase what you already had written down, that's a great indicator to yourself that you actually understand what you're trying to learn. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. I hope that this helped you understand what you can change within your own life to study more successfully and be more academically successful. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a big thumbs up and make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you probably on Tuesday at 3 p.m. I'm gonna start posting vlogs about different things going on at UCLA every other Tuesday, so keep an eye out for that, and I will see you then. Bye.